Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2019. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick right across from me, per normal.
What's up, y'all?
With a Pokemon hat on. I'm not sure if that's...
Close enough.
Yeah, close. Is that what it is? I have no idea.
No.
Yeah, kind of.
It does look like...
It's staring at me.
Yeah,
funny.
It's okay.
On this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, we are going to give you our top 10 early quarterback rankings. It starts today. All the rankings for every single position, and we will spend the next month doing this. But first, be sure to do the following. Follow us on Twitter, at the FF Champs, Instagram, at the Fantasy Champions. Go to facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions to like us over there. Subscribe wherever you listen, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you go. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and click the bell for notifications on our episode. Leave a review, share the podcast with your friends. And I just wanted to get some major news in first because I know people are waiting very, very long, like a whole 24 hours for a major announcement.
What's that announcement?
As you saw on our social media, we do have a massive announcement. We will be switching to 2 episodes per week. We want to give you as much content as possible, and we will release each episode on Tuesday and Thursday night so you can get double the content for half the time.
That's pretty dope, dude.
Sounds great.
Double the content for half the time?
Double the content
half
for
the
half the time? Yeah. So we will be only talking about the news segment on the Tuesday edition of our show. But it's exciting. We get to talk about fantasy football 2 times a week now.
It's starting to get to that time of year after the draft.
Yep.
Summer's around the corner.
Starting to get interesting now.
People are getting extra sweaty looking at their draft kits, realizing they have money on the line.
It's true.
This isn't me. I swear, I'm not talking about myself.
It's true, though. Let's get to some news. Isaiah Crowell tore his Achilles.
Ooh.
Yeah, took a GG. Then they signed Doug Martin to fill his spot. Some people thought it was going to be Jay Ajayi. Some people thought that Mr. What's his dingle would come back.
What's his dingle?
Yeah, don't remember what his name is. Marshawn Lynch. There we go. So they thought he was going to re-sign, but he did not. This is the best news you possibly could get if you're Josh Jacobs. He was already supposed to be the number 1 guy in Oakland, and now he is definitely the number 1 guy in Oakland. Doug Martin will not be stealing snaps. I got into a little Twitter battle with somebody the other day about
that's always good.
Yeah, always good. Jalen Richard getting more targets than
he might.
Mr. Josh Jacobs.
If anyone's gonna steal snaps, it's not gonna be Doug Martin.
No. It'll probably be Jalen Richard. Everyone's in love with Chris Warren too. Ever heard of him?
I have no idea.
A lot of dynasty people stashing some Chris Warren shares. Number 3 running back in Oakland. Colts signed Spencer Ware to a 1-year, $1.3 million deal. This is also great news for Marlon Mack, my boy. I love Marlon Mack, and you'll find that out next week or the following weeks when I talk about running backs.
Oh, yeah.
I love Marlon Mack.
You love the Colts, actually, to be honest.
I do love the Colts. They were going to sign Jay Ajayi. We're not going to. They brought him in for a workout, which would have been bad news for Marlon Mack. But the fact that they brought in Spencer Ware, he'll play a very small role. Mack will get most of it. I think
probably a third down back.
Probably a third down. Maybe not even. I think he's just going to replace... Who's the third running back they have?
Oh, my gosh.
I don't remember his name.
I know who it is.
Naheem Hines is the pass catcher, and then the third running back... I think Spencer Ware is coming in to replace him. He'll probably win that job. And if Marlon Mack goes down, he's actually a really decent asset to have. But we'll see how that all works out. It's just a 1-year deal, saving Spencer Ware's career. Yeah. Basically. 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan suggested that third-round pick wide receiver Jalen Hurd could be moved to tight end. I don't understand that at all.
It's interesting.
This is stuff that we get. These are the hot-hitting news points that we get during the offseason. Why would you do that? That makes no sense.
I mean, if they're still going to involve him in the
big
passing game, I guess it's not too big of a deal. It's just like, it's weird to me that...
I think it's because, they drafted Deebo Samuel. They still have Dante Pettis. They got George Kittle.
Where would, like, if he plays tight end, they want to run a 3 tight end system?
No, I think to get him more targets, they would probably utilize him as a tight end in the passing game, not as a blocker.
With George Kittle?
With George Kittle. But he wouldn't get a lot. Because right now he's like the 3rd wide receiver in a system that only runs 2 to 3 wide receivers.
Okay, yeah.
He might even be the 4th receiver, actually. So it depends on where he lands on the depth chart, but I think they want to use... He was a 3rd-round pick wide receiver. He was a 3rd-round wide receiver, so I think they want to utilize him. Which would be why they would move him to tight end, but doesn't make any sense to me. Emmanuel Sanders finally ran in cleats last Friday. Rather interesting. I think he got hurt week 10, something like that.
I think it was
last 6 or 7
about
weeks
week
of the
10.
season.
Yeah.
He actually had a relatively decent season, but he's old and was an Achilles injury.
I think it was an Achilles.
Yeah, that usually isn't something players come back from too effectively. So we'll see what happens with Emmanuel Sanders. Kerryon Johnson said he has fully recovered from his knee injury.
Tell that to
That's a good
CJ
thing.
Anderson.
God.
I hope.
Tell Kerryon Johnson they signed CJ Anderson. He's fricked.
He storms into the GM's office. My knee is fully good. I'm ready to go this year, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna start CJ.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I demand trade.
Yeah, I the more and more I look at the Lions roster, the more and more I laugh and say this is such a Bill roster.
Yeah.
It's like, let's stash as many role players as we possibly can. And then
Here's a big difference though.
Yeah.
You have role players around Brady and Belichick, or role players around Matt Patricia and Matt Stafford.
Gross.
I like Matt Stafford, but
I like Matt Stafford, but yeah. The Seahawks, I guess they like all of their draft picks. And I say this because literally everything that I've seen in reports about the Seattle Seahawks is that they love all of their draft picks. It's literally like, this guy is impressed in rookie minicamp. I'm like, would you take a leap?
You know what it is?
My God.
It's like
Pete Carroll's too hype.
it's after you have your fantasy draft with your buds and you're all sitting there eating pizza and there's
Like, this is going to win the league, boys.
No, there's one guy after the teams are drafted.
Yeah,
there's
it's
always
usually
one
me.
guy. It's usually you. That's like, man, I love my draft. My team is stacked. Like, I love every pick. This was awesome.
It's true.
That's the Seahawks right now. They're like, man, we got everybody we want in the draft.
Yeah, they're too
And
lit.
you know what usually happens to that person that loved their draft? 500 or below.
Yeah, that's true.
Not saying the Seahawks are gonna, but
Yeah, DK Metcalf was on video running a route, and there was a Twitter battle. Half the people were like, oh my God, he looks slow, and half the people were like, he can run routes. And I'm like, it's literally rookie minicamp. Let's not sweat about one video that some guy recorded on his iPhone. Like, give me a break. Cam Newton said he is feeling great and hope he can throw before camp.
let's hope.
Yeah. This reminds me of the
That's the key word.
the Andrew Luck situation where he didn't throw for like 3 years and then he came back.
Very nerve-wracking.
I really do like Cam Newton. We'll talk about him today on our show, I believe. I really do like Cam Newton, but
You know what? Two things concern me about this. The key word, obviously, hope he can throw before training camp.
Yep.
And number 2, they drafted Will Grier. So in their minds, there might be a little bit of a insurance plan.
Yep.
Just keep an eye on. I think once Cam Newton starts throwing the ball, though, we'll all be like, oh, it's Cam Newton. But
Yeah, that's true.
keep an eye.
He looked pretty awful last year at the end of the season when he couldn't throw. AJ Green expects to be back by camp, which is fantastic. I'm an AJ Green truther. Have been for a long time. He's turned into an old man, though, so I don't know how much truth I can spit anymore.
He's not too old, though. Wasn't
Yeah.
he Julio's draft, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Is he? Oh, never mind. Second round wide receiver J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. That's a mouthful. I hope.
I'm not even going to try to repeat what you just said.
Supposedly, he won't play that much, according to an Eagles beat writer, which doesn't surprise me. More specifically because they have like 3 other wide receivers there, and the fact that
Interesting that they even took a receiver.
first-year wide receivers don't really
do
that effective.
unless you're like
Or
first
do
round
that much in
picks,
fantasy football. That is,
or even like more specifically like top 15.
Yep.
But yeah, second round picks. And, I mean, like I said, it's interesting to me that the Eagles even drafted a wide receiver in the second round.
Very true.
Not really a position of need.
No.
Probably just really thought they took the best player available. But.
Yep. So a lot of news this week. That'll probably die down as the season goes on. But let's move into our main segment, our early 2019 quarterback rankings. Over the next 2 episodes, we will discuss, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, as a reminder. We will discuss our top 20 ranked quarterbacks. So let's get started. This is our consensus.
Yep.
So some of them are different. Some of the rankings are different.
We agree on some things, disagree on others.
Right. So Andrew Luck was our consensus number 1. A lot of people would be shocked by that after the sweaty season that Patrick Mahomes just had.
I did not have Andrew Luck number 1 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So I would be shocked by that if I looked at this.
Transpired.
Yeah.
In that time. But Andrew Luck, I have him ranked number 1. Rick has him ranked number 1. His ECR right now, according to Fantasy Pros, is a rank number 2. So we have him ranked 1 higher. I believe Mahomes is ranked number 1.
Mahomes is 1.
But Andrew Luck, this offseason, he got he has Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle, who are 2 very good tight ends. He has Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines, and he also has an improved offensive line, and an offensive line, frankly, coming off a year of great improvement. Devin Funchess, the new wide receiver, Paris Campbell, who I absolutely love.
I love him too, yeah.
And then T.Y. Hilton. I mean, they went from having nothing to a whole lot, and half of it was already on the team.
Yeah, and just didn't play. I think the 3 biggest things that I think puts Andrew Luck over the edge at number 1 for me is, as you said, the depth at wide receiver he got. Yeah. I think Mahomes will get to him, but some of the weapon issues that he's been having this offseason. And thirdly, Andrew Luck, all of going into last year was, can he throw the ball?
Yeah.
Is he the same quarterback? We saw it throughout the year that he is now. There is no doubt he's the same quarterback, and now he's got his first year fully healthy once again. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting year for Andrew Luck. I mean, he had a stretch of games this year that was
fantastic.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I think that if he can continue that production in 2019, it's going to be really, really good news for fantasy owners, especially my problem with these quarterbacks, the thing that drives me nuts about these quarterbacks is how high people take them. And right now, you're getting Andrew Luck if you're in a 12-team league, you're getting Andrew Luck in the 4th round. So I don't really see that as a good value pick.
Yeah, 4th round's a little.
But I do think, I said this right at the end of the season, even before everything went down with Andrew Luck, that I think Andrew Luck, this was a season that was supposed to be a transitionary season for him.
Right.
And he actually ended up as, top 3?
I think he finished 3rd.
Yeah, it's 3rd on among quarterbacks. And so this year, I think he can take that step and finally become or get back to that number 1 quarterback status. He has all the talent in the world. He has all the ability in the world to do it. It's just a matter of doing it. Number 2 on our consensus rankings is Patrick Mahomes. This is where we varied just a pinch.
Yeah, just a
I mean, how
hair.
much can you vary on this pick unless I ranked him like 7? I had him ranked at 3, and Rick had him ranked at 2. His ECR is obviously number 1, like we said earlier. For me, I think the reason why I rank him 3 is mostly because, and I know it takes a lot for you to rank him 2.
Yeah,
but for me,
saying a lot.
It's easier for me to rank him less, and I actually, as the offseason goes along, I think people will disagree with this very, very much, but I might even move him down. You have Kareem Hunt, who left, and he's going to have a full season with Damian Williams, which is, a lot of people are getting sweaty on Damian Williams. Let's slow our roll.
Okay.
And I think that they lost Tyreek Hill, most likely for the 2019 season.
Yet to be determined.
But it looks like it.
Not looking good.
When they draft a guy who is exactly like Tyreek Hill, that doesn't lend too much hope in his direction. But basically all Mahomes has now is Travis Kelce. And I talked about this last season. I said, without Kareem Hunt, without, Tyreek Hill, who would he be? You know what I mean? Who is he? So can he do this? Can he do Mahomes? He was already slated for a little bit of a statistical drop.
Obviously.
He was already slated for that. And now you're talking about him not having all of his weapons. So to me, I think Mahomes falls down. This is why I put him at 3. I think Andrew Luck and Aaron Rodgers are going to finish ahead of him. I even think Matt Ryan and Deshaun Watson could finish ahead of him. That's how far I think he's going to slide down. I know people love Patrick Mahomes, but you really do have to look at the stuff around him and the situations around him to understand why.
I get where you're coming from. I just look at the year Mahomes had last year.
Yeah.
How dominant he was. Tyreek Hill's going to kill him, though. Like, that hurts.
Yeah.
Losing a guy like Tyreek Hill. I mean, let's look at the situation. I don't think Damian Williams is as bad as you think he is. He's not. I don't think he's Kareem Hunt. But he's fine, and he plays the role that they need the Chiefs to play.
Right.
A very good pass-catching back. I think he had 2 touchdowns in multiple games, I think, last year. If not, he was involved in the passing game when he played.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes is just, like, he's way too talented, I think. We're going to see, though. You are right. Like, what can he do without those guys?
I just think...
He still has Sammy Watkins, who's a good player.
I think my big thing with Mahomes is that last year a lot of people drafted, and I said this I think a couple months ago, is that a lot of people drafted Aaron Rodgers like as the number 1 quarterback off the board in fantasy football, and when they took him off the board, they expected him to be that guy. Now he was still like a top 6 quarterback, so I'm not, you're not dissing it, but as the number 1 quarterback you're drafting, you expect him to be top 2, top 3. And so I think a lot of people are going to draft Patrick Mahomes in the 2nd or 3rd round this year, and they're going to get bit in the butt big time because Mahomes is not going to produce the same way that he did last year.
I agree.
If Mahomes produces the same way, then I think the pick might even be worth it.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
But I just don't
One
think
of the few times that's worth taking a quarterback that high.
He literally can win you games. But as far as right now, like I just don't think he can continue that kind of production. And with that being the case, I think he will finish as a top 5 quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind that that'll happen. But he also could be sitting there after drafting him going, why did I
probably could have got Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think it's very close between Mahomes and Rodgers right now in my ranking, but I'm still gonna go with Mahomes. I think just the year he had last year, I do think it's gonna decrease, but by how much? Like, if he throws 6 less touchdowns and like a few hundred less yards, he's still gonna be a top 3 fantasy quarterback,
Yeah, definitely. Aaron Rodgers is our 3rd guy. I ranked him 2. Rick ranked him 3. The ECR is 3. So your top 3 quarterbacks generally are going to be those 3 guys. Right now, Rodgers' ADP is, according to Fantasy Football Calculator, 51. What is it? 50.4. I'm sorry. 5th round, 2nd pick in a 12 team. So Aaron Rodgers, to me, the reason why I put him 2 is because I think a lot of people, you kind of, in fantasy football, you can't let yourself get burned by certain players. I know players can burn you. Like Zeke this year, I explained this before, but I felt as though Zeke burned me because I was expecting 25 points per game.
You were expecting
unreal statistics.
Your expectations probably should have dropped.
Right, like he was before. And so for Rodgers, my concern, not my concern, my hope is that he can continue the production that he had outside of last year. Last year, Aaron Rodgers checked out because of the coach. And towards the end of the season, he had like a 20-point game, 25-point game, and then a 40-point game. So I think for me, Rodgers is going to get back to what he does. He's going to get back to how he plays. He has, good receivers. He has a decent tight end in Jimmy Graham. He has 2 decent running backs. Or Aaron Jones is a good running back, but we'll see how they utilize him. I don't know.
I think
regardless, Aaron Rodgers, I think, can produce at the level that he has in the past. He might even actually finish as the number 1 quarterback, and I would not honestly be surprised. But at the value of going in the 4th round, that's not. I mean, I'm not drafting quarterbacks in the 5th round, but if you're drafting Aaron Rodgers in the 5th round and he turns out to be the QB1, you got a great pick there.
Yeah, I think Rodgers is way too good to have a season like he did last year again, I think.
Yeah.
And what is interesting about this year is I think he's going to have more control over the offense. With Mike McCarthy gone.
Matt LaFleur.
Yep, I think they're going to work together.
Yeah.
kind of have like Rodgers be not all the say in the world, but he's gonna, I think,
Yeah.
because him and McCarthy were kind of butting heads a lot last year.
Yep.
So we're gonna see, but I do like Rodgers this year, just not quite as much as I like Mahomes.
Your love for Mahomes needs to take a chill pill. Deshaun Watson.
It will never take a chill pill.
The fourth guy on our rankings is Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson. I'll tell you that right now. He is somebody that I didn't like until I started taking a look at his numbers this year, and he is absolutely insane. We had him both ranked at 4. The ECR is 4, so that's pretty consistent. I think he's getting drafted far too high to make it justifiable. He's getting drafted with the 11th pick in the 5th round. But for me, Watson is like the perfect mixture of passing and running.
Yeah.
And I think in fantasy football, you're starting to see this new trend where, or not new trend, it's always been there, but no one really ran the football in the NFL at the quarterback position.
Except like Michael Vick.
Cam Newton, right, except for Michael Vick. But I mean, you saw how effective he was in fantasy football when he ran for 100 yards and scored like 3 touchdowns. So for Cam Newton, Cam Newton is the only guy that we've really seen as a rushing over. Cam Newton and Russell Wilson are the only 2 guys that we've seen fantasy football wise of the last like 4 or 5 years that have really been what Deshaun Watson is right now. And I think he's only getting better.
Oh yeah.
That's my thing. Is like I think he has the ceiling of finishing in the top 2. And I think that he could finish extremely high. And I think it's just if he can stay on the field and stay healthy, those are the 2 things that concern me. Is that if he can't stay on the field, obviously you don't want to take him. But for me, he can throw 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns, and that's a top 10, top 7 quarterback in fantasy football, as well as run for like 600-700 yards and like 4 touchdowns. And it's like if he can put all those pieces together, he could be a top 1 or 2 quarterback. And I think, it sounds crazy to say that about Deshaun Watson sometimes, but I think, you throw in if he can throw like a real quarterback and run like a running back, and you put those 2 things together, that's great.
It's like Russell Wilson if the Seahawks throw the ball 50 times a game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true.
But I mean, Watson has flashes where you're like, but then he has flashes where you're like, yeah, he can be a top 2, kind of like what you were saying. Like
he's super.
He can be that guy.
Yeah.
He is consistent. I'm talking more like in game, type things,
like Trubisky.
Not really, but like there was times last year, especially when they had all 3. Or was Demaryius Thomas on the team before Will Fuller got hurt? Did they have all 3 at once? I think they did for like 1 or 2 games. But there was a time at the end of the season, I don't know if it was all 3 of them there or when it was just Hopkins and Fuller, but there was a few games in there where he just looked like pure dominance. Yeah. Especially fantasy-wise, where like if you have this guy, that's like legit. He's going to be on that Mahomes type level soon enough. It might even be this year. I mean, we both have him number 4. I think he's going to produce at a high level this year. Yeah. I love Deshaun Watson, just like you. So I'm excited.
If you could get him in the 7th or 8th round,
right? But
I would be extremely.
Here's the thing:
happy.
He's not going past, I think, max round 6. Yeah. But I think in a lot of leagues he's going to go in the 5th round.
Yeah, because I think the consistency is there for him to be able to get your team to where it needs to be on a weekly basis. And I'm a streaming guy, so for me, quarterbacks 11 through 20 is going to be way more interesting than the top 10 because I can't even draft the top 10.
Yeah.
But Watson's a guy that if you do draft him in the 6th round, you got a great quarterback who can be consistent on a week-to-week basis for you. Number 5 in our rankings, Matt Ryan. Matty Ice is what they like to call him. He did choke in the Super Bowl many times.
All right, you didn't have to bring that up.
I just insulted all of the Atlanta Falcons fans.
Did he really choke in the? Well, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, no. I had him ranked 5. You have him ranked 6. His ECR is 7. I've talked about Matt Ryan in the past, and he does this thing where he has one really good season, and then he has one really bad season. Yeah. Right now, he's projected to be on that really bad season. My thing is, and this is the interesting aspect, is Dirk Cutter was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. He is now the offensive coordinator in Atlanta. What does Dirk Cutter like to do?
Throw the football.
Matt Ryan is going to. I think he was the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons at some point in the past with Matt Ryan at quarterback, and they just brought him back. Mm-hmm. Matt Ryan can throw this year. I think I saw a tweet the other day. 5 out of his 7 seasons, he threw it for 600 passes. And one of those seasons, this is like a Calvin Ridley tweet, but one of those seasons he threw 152, or no, not one of those seasons, but they split the 600. I think it was like 42% between 2 wide receivers. So that means that Julio is going to get like 150 targets, and Calvin Ridley will probably get somewhere between 110 and 120. So I saw that, and I'm like, he's going to be throwing it quite a bit next year. I actually like Matt Ryan. I think he can break the trend, and the value for him right now is he's moved up. I thought originally he was a 9th rounder, and then he went to the 8th round.
Surprised me, and I think people realize that too.
Round.
Yeah.
Now he's getting taken in the 6th round with the 8th pick in 12-team leagues. To me, Matt Ryan, I love him, but he's just not.
He's moving up.
He's moving up, and I don't know if it's worth the risk.
Yeah, for you especially, because you just hate drafting quarterbacks in general.
I hate drafting quarterbacks.
I don't like drafting quarterbacks either, not as much as you, but I think Matt Ryan, the consistency thing and the year to year, like having a good year, having a bad year does and should scare people because it's just happened every single year.
Right.
I think some of the differences, though, are A, what you said, their new offensive coordinator who loves to throw the football. B was they didn't have Calvin Ridley in those years. Yeah. It was always Julio Jones, and that was really pretty much it. Yeah. Sanu came in a few years ago.
There was
now you add
Taylor
another
Gabriel too.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't roast Taylor Gabriel.
Sorry, but
I love him.
But I think Calvin Ridley adds another dimension.
Yeah, it really does.
He
has a lot of targets as well as Austin Hooper.
I mean, you look at last year. Matt Ryan finished as the 2nd-ranked quarterback last year.
Yeah,
with Calvin Ridley. They didn't have Devontae Freeman either for like the entire season. Mm-hmm. That offense is scary. Like, it's talented. And I could honestly see Matt
Ryan busts, it's Matt Ryan's fault.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Or like injuries, Yeah. That's the only way I can see him going back to that year. If he has another bad year this year, it's just like follow the trend. Bet all your money on Matt Ryan next year.
Yeah. Number 6 on our list, Baker Mayfield. Now, my ranking balanced your ranking out a little bit. Rick ranked him number 5.
I did.
That is common in the ECR world. Fantasy Pros has him ranked number 5 as well.
He's going 4th off boards.
He's going 4th off boards according to the Fantasy Football Calculator. For us, we have him 6th. I have him 8th. I'll tell you why. This guy has way too much hype surrounding him. He does have
a lot of hype, yes.
Now, he responded to his hype last year, but this team, he is now expected to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and lead the Browns to the promised land.
Pretty close.
You have all this talent around you. Like, the pressure is on for Baker.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know if Baker can respond to that pressure this year with a top 5-4 performance. I think people are overhyping Baker significantly. And I think that he came off a really good season and a really good rookie season, not in real life. In real life, it was good, but in fantasy, it was awful. I don't know how much he can jump up. People expect him to be the Patrick Mahomes of this year, and I don't know if he can do that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's there yet. You know what I mean? So
I wouldn't say he's there yet either. But, and I've said this before, Mayfield's either going to be awesome next year or he's gonna
flop.
Like, you're going to take... This is why I wouldn't draft Mayfield unless he, magically like falls down the draft. But right now, he's going the 4th quarterback off the board.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking someone that high with that much of a risk, you better have a good team around you because there's a chance he's going to be top 3 quarterback this year, in my opinion. I think he could have that type of upside.
Oh, definitely.
There's also a chance that Cleveland goes 7-9 and fires Freddie Kitchens and they just like absolutely choke this whole season. And Mayfield is like, oh, I don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say about Mayfield is, last year, one of the reasons I liked Mahomes was because, and I told you this at the time, I was like, I'm not sure if this kid can play. I think he can. I'm not sure. But, man, does he have a lot of talent around him, which means if he can play, he's going to
Yeah.
do very good. Mayfield's in a similar spot
He's in
where
the same spot.
we
Yeah.
saw flashes last year where we think he can play. You add Odell Beckham,
Mm-hmm.
you add Kareem Hunt for a few games, like we're gonna see because I think he's got that kind of potential.
He has that potential.
That's why I have him 5. But honestly, with him and Matt Ryan,
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, I think would be a safer bet
Yeah.
than Mayfield, but Mayfield's got higher upside.
Baker makes me a little bit more nervous than
He does.
certain
Yeah.
players. Like if I'm going to draft a quarterback high, I don't want to draft a guy that to me is supposed to be a guy that, could break out next year, and it's a risky pick.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to spend, what is it, a fourth rounder or an early 5th rounder, late 4th rounder on a guy who may break out? Like that doesn't sound like
Right.
Success.
I hate to bring it back to Mahomes, but like Mahomes was like
9th rounder.
right, and that was going
The
that was
name
early.
recognition
It was
wasn't
like
there.
9th to 11th. If you're taking a quarterback that could break out in the
Yeah.
10th round or 9th or 11th round, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you're using a 4th round pick on a guy that could be a top 3 fantasy quarterback,
No, Baker could slide. I will say that. He could slide. His ADP could slide when normal people start drafting.
or it could go up.
Yeah,
I think it could go up,
It could
honestly.
go up, yeah. But I think the stuff that people put around, I think it's just name recognition for Baker. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, no one had heard of him.
Yeah.
It was like he was drafted in the 1st round. He sat behind Alex Smith for a year. No one heard about this guy until he blew up week 1. And then it was like Patrick Mahomes' name was everywhere. Baker's name has already been everywhere. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. He was all this stuff. And so now he has to step into that role of being a number 1 quarterback in his 2nd year. I mean, that's a lot to live up to. And I think that for people to expect that to happen in fantasy is a little bit of a leap. Mm-hmm. I understand the hype. If he was getting drafted in the 9th overall pick, I would be taking Baker Mayfield all day
Yeah.
because the 9th pick is
9th round, you mean?
Yeah, 9th round.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, 9th.
That's where he was going before the Odell
Yeah.
trade.
So he's going way, way too high in my opinion. I don't think he can finish as a QB1 next year, like the number 1 QB in fantasy. I don't think he can do that next year. I think he could do top 5. And then in the coming years, he could succeed. But anyway, we got to move on. Russell Wilson is the 7th quarterback. We both have him ranked 7. The one thing I like about Russell Wilson is he has a surprising he's surprisingly consistent.
He's very consistent.
On a week-to-week basis. Now, but he doesn't get a ton of QB1 finishes. And that is the concern, is that he's consistent at getting you 17 to 18 points per game.
He's kind of like a very sure thing where if you draft Russell Wilson, you're probably going to be fine at quarterback, but you're not going to have an advantage at quarterback.
I mean, I'm kind of even thinking about honestly moving him down a couple spots on my list because for me, I just can't justify drafting Russell Wilson and then having him on my team to get 17 points a week. I mean, that's
Wilson.
I could stream quarterbacks more.
What I'll say about Russell Wilson though is, like, he's very good, especially towards the end of the season when it matters, when you're trying to make the playoffs in fantasy and in playoff games. Like, typically he has better second halves of seasons. Yeah. So I think that should play a factor.
Right.
When you're taking him, especially if you feel like you're going to use him the entire year, be like, oh, well, he might be average for most of the season, but when I need him, he will get me 20 points. He will be a legit quarterback. And if you're drafting him later in the rounds, like, I don't know where he's going right now. I think it's, you want to pull that up?
Yeah, it does.
But if he's going a little later,
6th or 7th.
See, that's
it's too high for Russell Wilson.
If you're taking him like 8th round, I think that might be worth it. But
to me, all of these guys
they're like a round or two. They're just like a round early.
Or two early. Yeah, I'm like, and I just
except for
can't.
Mayfield, he's probably like
Russell Wilson though is a guy that I wouldn't even draft until the 10th round.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I think that for me,
quarterback hater,
I am a quarterback hater. His ECR is 6, which is extremely high, but people forget that his inconsistency. Now, if he starts throwing the football a lot more, we'll see a change. But one guy that I probably will move ahead of him is our 8th quarterback, Cam Newton. My rank is 6 on him, which is 1 spot higher than Russell Wilson, by the way. I shocked myself. And your rank is 9 for him. The ECR is 9. The reason why I have Cam Newton so high is because the guy is a freaking stat machine. And when he is on the field and he is good, he can be a number one quarterback. Like, he can be I think he's finished as a top quarterback in fantasy football before. I can't remember if that's true or not.
He did when he won MVP.
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
So he is finished. He's actually, when I looked into his numbers, he does a similar thing to Matt Ryan, where he goes as like a
up
QB,
and down,
QB,
up and down,
QB2 season, QB1 season, QB2 season, QB1 season. So he just had a QB2 season. He should have a QB1 season, but he is a guy that I can justify taking. He's an 8th rounder right now in 12 team. In 10 team, he is a 10th rounder. So to me, I think Cam Newton is very much worth it at 9 or 10. And I think if I'm going to take him there and he could finish as a top 3 quarterback, you got a very good guy there.
Yeah, Cam Newton's a little different than Wilson. I think you'll get a top 8 quarterback with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, you might not, but you might get a top 5 quarterback with Cam Newton.
Yeah.
So the reason I have him lower is I don't know if his weapons are quite there for him to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Curtis Samuel, 2nd round pick. DJ Moore, 1st round pick.
Oh, boy. I don't mind those guys. I don't know, compared to a guy like Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz.
Greg Olsen could stay on the field
even
for
Jared
like
Goff.
2
You know what I
minutes.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is he there? Is just shouldered ready for this season?
Yeah. No, that's true.
That's I think a legitimate concern. And even if it is, Cam Newton has injury history. Mm-hmm. Like there's a good chance. Like a lot of these guys, you feel comfortable that they'll play the whole season. I don't feel comfortable with Cam Newton playing the whole season. And will he miss a big game where I need him to get 20 fantasy points?
Yeah.
So there's just too many question marks for me to put Cam Newton too high, but he does have a good upside, and he does. Talented.
I think it's worth the pick if he's in the 10th round and you're sitting
10th round is good for him, though. Yeah,
I would definitely take him, especially if he's a guy you can start week 1 and draft a sleeper and hope that guy busts out, but you have Cam Newton as a backup plan. Number 9, Carson Wentz. I have him ranked 9. You have him ranked 8, which is completely shocking to me because I love Carson Wentz way more than you do.
Yeah.
The ECR rank for him is 13, so we have him a little bit higher than normal. Carson Wentz has the talent.
He does
to be a top 5 quarterback. He did it his MVP season. He should have been in the top 5 when he had his MVP season because just kidding. I think he tore his ACL.
Yeah, tore his ACL like week 13 or something.
That is what made him a little bit worse last year. Carson Wentz is a guy that I definitely would draft. I would probably draft him ahead of like a guy like Russell Wilson because I think he's got talent around him. He's they just drafted Miles Sanders. They have Jordan Howard sitting in the backfield. They have a good offensive line. They have they brought back Deshaun Watson, and they still have Alshon Jeffrey over there with a rookie, the new rookie wide receiver Arcega Whiteside. So for me, I think Philly's got some pieces that they can work with, and I think Carson Wentz is going to have some guys to throw to if he can stay healthy for an entire season, which is the if. And play like he did his MVP year, which I think he can do now that he's one full season off the ACL. I think he could actually be an extremely good quarterback. But it's just a matter of if he comes back from the injury and is effective.
It's very similar to what you said about Cam Newton.
Yep.
Honestly, they're similar. Here's the difference, I think, between the two of them is the weapons.
Yep.
I love what Philly has done with that offense. They've surrounded him with a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Philly has a lot of talent. Carson Wentz, he's coming off an ACL injury last year. He wasn't fully, I don't know if he was fully there. Nick Foles, the hype around him. Nick Foles is gone. This is his team. He's got a full off season and a full year of recovery. Should be back to normal. I think has a very high ceiling. Yeah. I like Carson Wentz. Your guy. I like your guy, Carson Wentz.
He's going pick 94 right now. Jared Goff, number 10, the final guy on our list. I have him ranked 10. You have him ranked 11. His ECR is 11. Jared Goff is a little bit. I like him and I don't like him. He's off. He's not consistent. He's off and on. He can have a boom game. The reason why I would say I would be all right with drafting Jared Goff, not because I would anticipate him starting every game. Right now, I think Goff is going in the 10th round. Yeah. 10th or 11th round. The reason why I would draft Jared Goff is for my streaming strategy.
Oh, boy.
Jared Goff plays lights out at home, and then he plays terrible on the road. So for me, I think Goff is a guy that is very streamable. He's a guy that I wouldn't start every week, but at home, 100%, I'd put him out there. But at home against a good matchup every day, he's going to score 30 points in that game. And you saw that last year. You go back and you look at the numbers. That's what Jared Goff does. And then he goes on the road and he lays a banana. And it's like he gets like, what, four points and then he sucks. And it's like, that's Jared Goff. But I would take him in the 11th round as a guy that, you know, hey, maybe he can make it, maybe he can figure it out on the road. Maybe, you know, I think the biggest problem, and you saw this in the Super Bowl, is that when there is crowd noise, it is extremely hard for Goff because he doesn't know how to do he doesn't know how to do pre-snap reads. Whereas like a guy like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning in the past would be able to sit at the line of scrimmage and call out the plays and like
he's got to listen to
the coach in the headphones and telling him exactly where to go. And so for Goff, it's just tough for him to make those pre-snap reads and figure out what's actually going on. And I think at home he's really good, and I think this is why. And if he can improve on the road, I think he'd be a top 6 or top 7 quarterback. But as of right now, Goff for me is a streaming option at best. Goff? And he's in our top 10, which is insane.
Well, okay, so
he's like, okay,
I don't know.
Let me mop this mess up.
I don't know if streaming option at best. I wouldn't go that far. Yeah. I like Jared Goff, actually, believe it or not, even though I have him ranked 11.
Yep.
I might have him honestly ranked higher. I'm debating about it right now in my head. Here's the thing with Goff: he was a top 4 fantasy quarterback for the first half of the season. Then what happened?
He lost Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp tore his ACL.
Yep.
Is Cooper Kupp playing in the 2019 NFL season?
I think so.
Okay, so I think, I mean, what
if they have a Super Bowl hangover?
That could happen. This is why I don't have him ranked that high. That could happen. The road thing definitely scares me because I don't see that improving anytime soon. But he has the ability and the talent is there on the Rams. So, I mean, there is a chance for the Super Bowl hangover. There's also a chance for Jared Goff just got another year older.
Yep.
And he's got talent around him.
Right.
So I think he's definitely he's in that spot, definitely worth a look. And if you're not like Morgan and you're like most people and you draft quarterbacks instead of streaming them, not saying that's a bad strategy. We're gonna see this year. I think actually that's a good strategy, to be honest with you, but not how I do it because I just love quarterbacks. Anyway, if you do draft quarterbacks, take a look at Jared Goff and maybe draft a guy. Draft a guy right after him that has an opposite schedule. And what I mean by that is have Jared Goff's home games match up with your quarterback's road games, the other quarterback you draft. So when Jared Goff's at home, play him all you want.
Yeah.
You know, have your star. Then Jared Goff goes into Seattle, slot in
quarterbacks, people.
i.e. like Phillip Rivers.
Handcuff the quarterback.
Yeah, handcuff Jared Goff. Yep,
I'm definitely interested in drafting him if he's in the 10th, 11th round in a 10-team league. I think he would be a valuable asset. That does it for our top 10 quarterback rankings. Be sure to listen on Thursday night for our 11 to 20 quarterbacks where things get more interesting. These are the guys that I will be probably drafting in my drafts instead of the top 10. So be sure to listen. You got any closing thoughts for us?
Well, quarterbacks 11 through 20 could win you the league.
Yeah.
Take a guy late in the draft that nobody expects, and boom.
Honestly,
Patrick Mahomes last year.
100%. Talk to you Thursday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.